What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Remote Front Office. Today, we are going to be discussing the top five free agents in my mind that are still left on the board. But before we do that, I want to make sure that you guys leave a like, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Make sure you have notifications on. My notifications have been kind of, hit or miss the last couple of weeks. But I do appreciate everybody supporting the channel. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 3 days a week. We're going to try and keep going with this coverage even throughout the offseason. I'll try and find stuff here. Maybe we'll do some reactions, all sorts of different stuff. But I appreciate you guys. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first guy I want to cover, I don't know necessarily. Again, this is not particular order. This is just like the top five guys that kind of come to my head after looking through the free agency list, right? The first guy that comes to my mind is Christian Wood. So Christian Wood had his struggles in Dallas last year, right? And initially everybody was like, "Oh, it's a good pickup." They didn't give up much. He's been on bad teams. Maybe with a winning culture, something will happen. Nothing happened. Um, he is very much an empty, or not meaningless stats, but just kind of stats that don't contribute to winning necessarily, right? Not a great defender, obviously. Decent shooter, rebounder. But I'm just kind of surprised that no team has picked him up for even just like the biannual or something as like a backup center. Really thought that would happen here relatively early on in free agency, and it seems like that's going to drag out through July. But he was just kind of the main guy just because I really thought he was going to get at least like a mid-level somewhere, right? Like about 12 million, and it just doesn't seem like that offer is out there for him. So I am really surprised by that one. Another one I'm really surprised about is Kelly Oubre, right? So Kelly Oubre has bounced around a couple of teams here these last couple of years. He's a good player though. He's decently athletic, can shoot the ball, space, handle a little bit. Not necessarily a great defender, but he at least has size. So I really thought again another guy that I thought would get a mid-level exception somewhere, that just hasn't been offered anything, which is really kind of surprising. My next guy that I want to talk about is a Bulls homer pick. Obviously, you guys know that I do tend to have a Bulls homer pick in here somewhere. But Javonte Green, I thought he showed a lot of flashes. I thought that if he could play his actual position, which I think is more of a guard slash wing rather than a power forward, I think he showed a lot. I think he was kind of the dark horse to be the Bruce Brown candidate for somebody this year, right? Where maybe they're coming off of not a perfect fit, and they go to a team that fits him really well, and he's able to really showcase what he does, and he performs well in a playoff game, and then the year after he gets paid a decent amount of money, right? Was kind of what I saw for Javonte Green. Maybe it's just because I watched him more as a Bulls fan, so I kind of have a little more of a not a fixation, but just more of an understanding of his game on a day-to-day basis. But I am really surprised he hasn't gotten picked up, especially by like a contending team. I really thought somebody would be more, eager to pick him up. Another guy that's kind of a fringe guy, Frank Ntilikina. I thought he showed flashes of at least he's still a really good defender. He's still young. I'm assuming he will probably go down more a Dennis Smith Jr. route, where he is able to maybe get on a team a couple months into the year on like a minimum or something and kind of just prove it through that way. Another guy that I'm kind of surprised hasn't gotten a deal yet, Grant Williams, I figured would either be in some sort of a sign and trade or would already have his extension done. Same with the last guy who's also a Celtic, but just really kind of figured his stuff would be done, especially because I thought it was another, again, mid-level exception guy, 4 years, 3 years, or whatever. The last guy I'm actually going to pivot because I just realized the guy I was thinking of is not a free agent. Ayo Dosunmu, as far as I know, adding another Bulls homer pick, but just he showed flashes. He's a restricted free agent, still relatively young. He may have hit his ceiling, or maybe not ceiling, but I think he's fairly close to his ceiling, right? It's definitely not like he's at his floor currently. I don't know how much higher he can go. But I think, again, as a facilitator, potential shooter, he's a good defender, a little undersized. I just think that considering Kobe White got his deal done as fast as he did, I really thought Io would follow suit. The last thing I wanted to touch on is Jaylen Brown. I don't know what is going on, right? So we go into the year. Everybody's worried about Jaylen Brown making All NBA because they fear that if he doesn't make All NBA, the difference between a contract extension from the Celtics and what another team can offer him is not that big of a gap just based on the deal of a contract he's on currently, right? Because the Celtics can only go up a certain percentage if he's not on All NBA because it's not a supermax. And then so it would be fairly close, and teams will assuming that maybe they'd have more of a chance and more leverage to sway him to go somewhere else. That didn't happen. Jaylen Brown made All NBA. I think deservedly so, even given the injuries and all that stuff. I still think good player on both ends of the floor. I think it made sense. So once we all saw that, we were like, oh, cool, done deal. Jaylen Brown, supermax. Boston's gonna have to pay both these guys $100 million here in a couple of years, and you're just gonna have to figure it out, right? And I kind of expected that deal to be done by the 4th, honestly. Even with the Porzingis trade, all that stuff, I figured the deal was done. It is now the 5th, and Jaylen Brown still has not signed an extension. LaMelo Ball signed an extension. Desmond Bane has signed an extension. Anthony Edwards has signed his extension. All of the rookie guys, I think at least the notable ones that we think of off the top of our head, have started to sign their second set of contracts, right? This is Jaylen Brown's 3rd. I'm not entirely sure why it hasn't been done yet. I don't know if maybe they are trying to keep some cap flexibility for this year, and in order to bring back like Grant Williams, and then if you're doing a Malcolm Brogdon trade, which it's hard to tell if they're doing it or not, I think at that point you would have to consider that as well. Maybe that's what they're waiting for, is so that everything fits in this year, and then you sign them, and then all of a sudden it works, right? But it's just the perception that's really, really weird. And I still wanted to just point it out as we're kind of keeping track. Maybe we look back on things in future free agencies that Jaylen Brown hasn't gotten his extension yet. And I just find it really weird, really bizarre that hasn't happened yet. But that is it. Again, not super in-depth content. Just kind of wanted to give you guys a quick top 5 of free agents I still see available as of right now. Granted, with my luck, I'll put this video out and all 5 of them will sign contracts, and then we'll be done with it. We can move on. But Friday, I'm not sure what we're going to do for content Friday. Still have to figure that one out. But again, notifications, and I will catch you guys on Friday with another video. I appreciate you guys coming through. Thank you for sticking around. Peace.